On this Thursday, we welcome you to our news, and we want to remind you that violent thunderstorms knocked out power and blew down trees all around Campbell County early this morning. Calls began pouring in to 911 Dispatch Center and the La Follette Utility Service Department just before 1 a.m. Power outages and downed trees were scattered all around the county, with Clairfield being the first and possibly worst hit areas. Roses Creek, Deerfield, Powder Springs, Stinking Creek, and Speedwell are some of the more notable areas where power was lost and trees were down. The 911 center tallies upwards of 12 downed trees that were reported. LUB dispatchers tell WLAF that at the peak of the storm, close to 3,500 customers were without power. Most all of the utility customers were back online by 4 a.m. Josh Parker of La Follette Utilities said that around 200 homes were still without power just before noon today, mostly in the mountainous areas and up the valley. He said the power outages were the result of losing a breaker at one of LUB's substations. A tree also fell on a house at Long Hollow. However, no one was injured in that mishap. As Campbell County's fiscal year is in its final days, the school board and commission meet to wrap up the year later today. It's doubtful the county will have the necessary data from the state to start. 2013-14 Finance Director Jeff Marlowe informed commissioners that the county will operate on the continuing resolution until July the 9th, when the budget hopefully can be finalized. It's likely that the school board will meet just long enough to recess until all the information arrives. The school board meets today at 5:30, with the commission meeting starting at 6. La Follette City Council also meets today in an adjourned session at 6 o'clock. There's a public hearing on the new budget as well as a final reading of the 2013-14 budget on the agenda. The Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency will be participating in Operation Drywater. That's going to happen June 28th through the 30th. Operation Drywater is a national weekend of boating under the influence education and enforcement directed toward reducing alcohol and drug-related accidents and fatalities. Operation Drywater is held on a weekend prior to the 4th of July holiday to give the enforcement high visibility during the peak boating season. TWRA is teaming up with the U.S. Coast Guard and the National Association of Safe Boating Law Administrators. Operation Drywater is being held for the 5th year after being started by the NASBLA in 2009. TWRA boating officers will saturate high traffic areas on lakes throughout the state, and along with the use of life jackets and other safety practices, officers want boaters to be aware of the effects and ramifications of alcohol use. TWRA will be intensifying efforts to detect and apprehend boat operators who are operating under the influence of alcohol or drugs. In 2012, a total of 135 TWRA officers participated in Operation Drywater. They logged more than 1,700 hours. Officers checked close to 2,400 vessels, wrote 180 citations, another 148 warnings, and made 19 boating under the influence arrests. One boat operator on Chickamauga Lake was arrested for his second BUI offense in 3 years, operating a boat with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or higher is illegal in Tennessee. That is the limit, the same as operating a motor vehicle while impaired. Penalties may include fines, jail time, boat impoundment, the loss of boat driving privileges, and statistics show that more than 20% of boating-related fatalities are a result of alcohol use. Sun, wind, noise, vibration, and motion intensify the effects of alcohol, drugs, and some medications. And finally this evening, Jellicoe's woes continue. In a story from WLAF TV, Jellicoe leaders are speaking out about the town's delay in passing a budget, which prompted scolding from the state controller. Revenue projected to be short some $160,000 next fiscal year. Cuts would likely have to be made to the library, parks, and fire department. Council members are faced with approving a 50-cent property tax increase just to balance the budget. For 2 years, we have needed revenue, and this council has refused to address the revenue aspect, said Jellicoe Mayor Les Stiers. The state controller sent a letter to the board of mayor and aldermen more than a week ago, pointing out that the town had not passed a budget and not addressed its serious financial situation. Final approval of the budget will be during a special called board meeting on July 1st at high noon. If a budget is not passed then, the state controller will submit his own budget for Jellicoe. Vice Mayor Benita Johnson recently remarked that Jellicoe would be better off if the state took over. There's been a long-standing process because of the dwindling property tax, the wholesale beer revenue, just a culmination of years of neglect and addressing the process, said Stiers. Problems surfaced last fall when the town employees couldn't get their paychecks because officials said there was no money to pay them. The town's employee worker compensation and liability insurance had lapsed until recently. Jellicoe's liability insurance policy expired on December 31st and wasn't renewed until May. That left the town of Jellicoe with no insurance for 5 months. With the way things are going, it couldn't be any worse, said Carolyn Leach, a citizen advocate who is part of a 16-person ouster suit against the mayor. The case is scheduled to be heard in Campbell County Chancery Court next month. And we'll be back and take a look at the press release from the Sheriff's Department. And taking a look at the press release from the Campbell County Sheriff's Department, it shows us that 9 people have been booked into the jail in the past 24 hours. We begin with John Robert Bobish III, age 39, of New Baltimore, Michigan, for DUI, violation of the implied consent law, simple possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. 31-year-old Carl Shane Bunch of Lake City on a capious bench warrant. David Richard Duval, age 37, of Ross Cemetery Road in Caryville, for public intoxication. 28-year-old Leslie Ann Finnegan of Cedar Road, La Follette, for driving while suspended, possession of a legend drug, violation of the Tennessee financial law on a capious bench warrant, and on another count of a capious bench warrant. Christy Ann Currender, 35, of Clinton, for theft of property between $1,000 and $9,999 and criminal trespassing. 39-year-old Floyd Eugene Lee of Oak Ridge, an attachment for child support. Richard Renner, 49, of Dossett Lane in Jacksboro, probation revocation warrant. 33-year-old Stuart Henry Ridner of Andersonville for theft of property between $500 and $999, aggravated criminal trespassing, resisting a stop, frisk, halt, search order, evading arrest, and on a hold for another agency. And the last name on the sheriff's report today is Deanna Elizabeth Walsh, age 27, of Bayard Lane in Jacksboro, for possession of drug paraphernalia. And that wraps up our portion of the news, and even though it does, there's still lots more coming up on this newscast at 5:30.
We sing happy birthday to you, and may all your dreams come true.
Happy, happy birthday.
Oh,
this is your birthday song.
Oh,
celebration all night long.
Oh,
May all you.
Good afternoon, Lori Leach here with your birthday and anniversaries for this Thursday evening. We want to wish a happy birthday to Emily Norman, who's turning 8 years old today, and Carl Martin, who's turning 60 years old today. Also, a happy birthday to Nadine Wallace, Madeline Willis, and Sherry Johnson Anders, who is celebrating her 40th birthday today. We also want to wish a happy anniversary to Roger and Nadine Wallace again, who are celebrating their wedding anniversary today, and Mark and Marilyn Rutherford, who are celebrating their 20th anniversary today. Our latest dinner winners from WLAF and Eastside Pizza are Juanita Dupee and Jay and Reba Johnson. Every week, WLAF gives away a birthday meal for two and an anniversary meal for two from Eastside Pizza in the Food Lion Shopping Center in East Follett. Happy birthday and happy anniversary, and see you next time right here on WLAF TV 12.